You love podcasts, the stories, the laughs, the unexpected turns. But when this episode ends, the silence starts. Not anymore. Audiobooks.com turns that silence into your next great adventure. With over 450,000 titles, from bestsellers to hidden gems, your love for listening just found its new best friend. And because you already know the joy of audio, we're giving you 3 free audiobooks to start your journey. Imagine your favorite podcast, now with unlimited episodes. That's audiobooks.com. Keep the story going. Sign up for your free trial at audiobooks.com/podcastfree today. Because for podcast lovers like you, the end of an episode is just the beginning. That's audiobooks.com/podcastfree.
Hey everybody, Spike Ferriston. I'm in an SUV right now. I'm in my Range Rover, and I'm driving across LA, all the way across the city, to meet with today's guest, Chris Hardwick, host of At Midnight, host of The Wall, host of The Talking Dead, and probably 10 other shows we're going to get to the bottom of. He likes cars, and when he talks to you about them, he likes to whisper, but doesn't want anybody to know he likes cars. But today we're going to open him up like an oyster and get him to tell us everything he's got, everything he wants, everything he's driven, and perhaps, maybe, just maybe, he'll give me one of his shows to host. You know, it's Wednesday. It's about 3:40 in the afternoon, and I'm in Hollywood proper, and this place is just jammed up as the slow transformation of LA into New York City's Midtown continues. You know, it never used to be like this. Thank you, sir. Someone just flipped me off.
Now, Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast Spike Ferriston, where Spike and his celebrity guests sip some Java, talk life, and of course, talk cars. Now, here's Spike.
All right, I'm sitting here with Chris Hardwick. Chris, how are you, my friend?
I am well, thank you.
I had a very lovely drive over here.
It's a lovely part of town. Once you sift through all the traffic, but once you get here, it's very.
I won't
peaceful.
say where we are, but you and I live on opposite ends of Los Angeles.
Well, I think we could say, yeah. I guess we're east and I'm east. You're west.
I'm west, right?
But I live in the hills,
right?
Which I think is general enough.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love about the hills is that it's very quiet up here. Mm-hmm. And we have a nice view of the city, but we're minutes away from everything.
It's a beautiful house.
Thank you.
It's really a beautiful house.
Thank you.
When I walked in and you showed me around, the first thing I thought was, I'm going to start shooting heroin again. I want to smoke cigarettes again. I want to be in a robe all the time. I want people like in the pool, face down. I don't know who it is.
It's a very old-timey house. It definitely feels like a house someone would die in like an 80s action comedy.
No, but it's gorgeous with multiple kitchens and all the decor you put. Did you find this stuff yourself, or did your wife do this?
Both. My wife and I both.
You're both into it, right?
Fortunately, have the exact same taste, which I have many times described before, and now that you're seeing this, it'll make sense to you, is Victorian gentleman serial killer. I think is the aesthetic.
Well, I like the balance of really cool kind of antique fixtures and then kind of hipstery, fun pop art and things.
Yeah, there's a little bit of pop art.
Butterflies, and then maybe a souvenir. And look, over there, there's a giant white peacock.
Yeah, it's a piebald peacock. It's a tax. We have a bunch of vintage taxidermy around the house, too.
Where does one get a peacock like that?
You know, you can get anything on the internet. And,
right.
But we also, there's a lot of places. When you're into this kind of stuff, you know where to go. There's stores here and in New York and around the country. And
I used to collect stuffed squirrels, and I had that collection for quite some time in Hollywood, 7 of them. But over the years, they developed mites.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
It's a real thing, and you have to. There's a certain type of a mite. If you do have taxidermy, you have to look around the claws and around the teeth and the face, because that's where they start to spawn. And then once one gets them, then they infest the rest. So you have to the cheapest, easiest way is when you get a piece of taxidermy. You can put it in a trash bag and throw a couple mothballs in there for a little bit, and then that. But really, we actually have a taxidermist, like a guy.
You have a taxidermy guy that comes to the house.
Yeah, Bischoff's Taxidermy, and If you're in Burbank and you've got a dead thing that you want to look like it died in an action pose, bishops.
So how frequently
don't stay dead.
Is he like the pool guy? Is it every week? Is it
No,
twice a week? What is?
But if we get a new piece of, because you don't know where all these things have been, and they're vintage, so they've been around a long time, and so. But when we get a new piece,
He's going to seal it.
We send it to him, and they basically put something on it that potentially kills anything that's living on it, because the mites will eat it away.
No, I know. Well, that's what I was going to say. My squirrels started to fall apart on the fireplace mantle. The skin was coming off, and my wife was very upset with me. And I did not want to throw them away. I'd had them since Letterman, so I chose to nail them to trees in the backyard.
Oh, that's nice. I was going to say, even Letterman retired. You can let the squirrels go.
And it was cool for about a week, and then everything fell apart.
Well, I heard that the reason Letterman quit doing the show is because he developed mites around his...
That's exactly right.
All
right,
well, skin was coming off.
We're going to talk about cars. This is a cars and comedy podcast, everyone. Not every show is going to be about cars, but... I love Chris Hardwick. I do his show at midnight. I've done it 3 times.
Yep.
I won't say all the time. I've done it 3 times. You're also hosting Talking Dead, that Pachinko show on NBC, The Wall.
Yep, that's right.
What shows am I leaving out? You're like the new Seacrest.
I mean, I feel possibly.
There's a science show for NBC.
I'm doing a science show for NBC, and then
that's 4 shows.
But then we started doing a talking show for AMC that's not based on The Walking Dead or anything. It's just sort of like a TV version of the podcast.
Wow.
So I guess it's 5. I guess it's 5.
And when I first messaged you about coming on the podcast here, you said I'm working 7 days a week.
I am I'm working 7 days a week. Wow. Yeah, because I'm doing I made a music comedy festival that's going to be next weekend in Silicon Valley, and so that's been eating up a lot of time too. And
then you have Nerdist.
Podcast.
And are you still doing your own podcast?
Yeah, I just did an episode right before you got here.
Who did you do? Maybe I should have him on this.
Kumail Nanjiani, Kumail. And
Emily.
I
love Kumail. He's hilarious.
And yesterday we did Edgar Wright early, and then later in the night Sofia Coppola. So it was fun.
So you're just moving nonstop.
But you've done the podcast.
I did the podcast. I loved it.
And you were great. And we talked about cars. And around that time, I was looking at getting a new car, and I said, it'd be really great to get like a BMW, like a 2002 or like a 3.0 CS. Because I used to like the 2002s, but they're a little boxier. But that 3.0 CS body is real cool and
beautiful.
Streamlined.
They are beautiful cars.
But they're like those vintage cars are. I mean, maybe not surprising to you, but like a good one is surprisingly pricey.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing what's going on here with you, Chris Hardwick. With all of these shows in this beautiful house, you've got a 3-bay garage with a nice courtyard with some cool cars sitting in it already. I'd like to get you up to a 10, 20 car collection. I'm not selling you cars, but you don't have kids, right? You're married. How long have you been married now?
We've been married since August.
Since August, all right.
Just a little less than a year.
All right, this is the perfect time to start buying cars.
I don't know. Okay, so I have a neighbor across the way who collects cars, and when we bought this house, the house next door came up on the market at the same time, and we bought it too because it was the property size is about the same, but the house is very small. So we were convinced that someone was going to buy that house and rip it and then just build some McMansion, and it'd be under construction for 2 years and it'd be noisy. And we found out that our neighbor across the street had his eye on it because he collects cars, so he wanted to put his car garage there. And so, I like
that guy. I like what he's thinking about.
So that idea has already been floated out there.
I had a neighbor. I used to live on Doheny Drive in Hollywood, and there was a guy who did that. He had this beautiful big house with a beautiful flat front yard, and suddenly there was a new structure there. He built something bigger than his house.
Overnight.
Oh, almost overnight, and put his cars in it. But it looks like a house in front of a house.
But is it one of those, are there lifts in it where you can stack?
I guess, yeah. I mean, there are places you can go to store cars. Look, I have a hangar at Santa Monica Airport. I've been down there for about 20 years, I would say. I don't like having all my cars at my house. It makes me confused in the morning.
And you kind of like going somewhere, too.
I'm kind of fascinated by your taste in cars. You seem to me like a guy... Well, did you grow up with cars at all?
No, I mean, my dad, my parents were not really... And, to say that I like cars, I just want to make it very clear. I don't. I couldn't. I'm not like Adam Carolla where I could tell you everything about
none of us are
a
like
car.
that. Right.
I can. I like cars that have a particular aesthetic quality to
Right.
them,
Mm-hmm.
where I feel like they spent an extra bit of care on the curves and the design of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have a thing that I like. But my dad was a van guy. My dad fucking loved his van. We got a van. It was like the great, and
Did he paint the unicorn on the side?
he didn't paint the unicorn on the side, but my dad owned a bowling center, so one of his customers painted Snoopy Bowling on the back tire thing.
No way.
And and my dad would talk about his van like no one else had ever heard of a van. So he'd go, "It's great. You can sleep in it. It's like everyone knows what a fucking van is. Why are you don't have to sell us on the concept of a van."
I know, but he was so excited to have it.
He was very excited to have it. My mom was a little bit more of a car person, and my stepdad was definitely a car person. He had a 5 Series BMW in the 80s.
Maybe that's where the BMW thing comes from.
Maybe. And he got my mom a Porsche 944 when I was in high school, and she loved that. And
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And so what was
fun.
your first car?
My first car was a 1985 Nissan Pulsar NX. It was red. My my mom bought it for me my parents. I've moved a lot. Primarily, I lived in Memphis, but my mom remarried. We moved to Denver when I was in high school, and for my senior year of high school, my mom and my stepdad moved to L.A. So I stayed in Denver for a semester with a friend of mine while my mom and stepdad moved ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So she bought me a car so I could get around. And it was really cool. The Pulsar NX had those
Did you pick
headlights.
it out with her?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, so it was obviously a used car.
So you went down to the lot with her,
Yep.
and she said you can get something here for $5,000 or
it was
less.
$5,000.
Right.
$5,000, and the Pulsar NX had a really cool look to it, and the headlights was the one where the headlights popped up.
Yep. And
It-
you're in high school, right?
I was in high school,
can't
and
resist that.
That felt very Transformers-y to me for some reason. And
Did you have sex in that car?
I did have. Did I? I don't think I had sex in that
No
car.
pulsing in the Pulsar?
No pulsing in the Pulsar.
That's unfortunate.
No, but in my next car, I threw it right in the old Sentra. So I had a Nissan Sentra was my next car.
Well, so all right, well that makes sense. You and I are very alike in that sense. My dad bought me a car, but he didn't ask me what I wanted.
Oh,
he came home with it and he said, "I bought you a car."
That happened to the friend that I was living with for a semester. His dad was just like he was just a dad.
He's just
like
a
he
dad,
just
right.
didn't have any understanding of anything aesthetic or anything, and he was just all practical. No,
Right.
all function, no form. And so he brought home my friend Roger. This, I don't even know what it was. It was like a tan station wagon. He was like, "Look at this! Look at all the room." And he was like, "Dad!" And
Yeah.
you're in a position where it's
Yep.
like, okay, someone's giving you a car. You are being liberated from the shackles of being reliant on your parents for rides from other people. But this station wagon it was tan, and it was just shaped like a shameful, coffin of social exile,
Right.
So that was really funny. And I had my red Nissan Pulsar NX.
Yeah, that you picked out that you were invested in.
Yeah.
Ours was a Ford Torino 500 that he gave to me and my brother. But worse was, I think he liked surprises. I think in his mind, he's like imagining the Mercedes ad with the red ribbon on it, and I'm just going to put this in the driveway, and they're going to freak out. So my mom needed the car. He bought her I think it was a 66 Chevy Impala blue, but the paint was decomposing or something. So it was like touching a chalkboard. If you put your
just
hand
flaked off.
anywhere, no, not flake, dust. So if you put your hand, like the equivalent of like touching carbon paper back
Right.
in the day, anywhere on that car, if you brushed up against it, the paint would come off.
And check me if I'm wrong, but inhaling that was really healthy in those days, right? They were very health conscious in those days about the types of materials.
That's totally fine. That was fine. My mom was so upset with him. He thought he was surprising her, and I felt the same way in this Torino 500. If you are going to buy a car for your kids, just get them involved, like Chris's stepdad.
Well,
did.
now I feel like
mom.
everyone is just like, I found this car on my phone. Give me this car. Like I feel like people are so. But I think my love for the aesthetic quality and the driving quality of
Right.
cars came from the fact that I finished high school in LA and I went to UCLA. and I got a job working at Bel Air Country Club.
Right.
And so
you studied philosophy, right?
I studied philosophy, but I was caddying at the club and working in the golf shop in the bag room. But then the real money was working in the parking lot.
Right.
Because that was a heavily tip-driven source of income. And so I got moved to the parking lot, and so I drove all these amazing cars and parked all these amazing cars, and that's where I really kind of fell in love.
And what did you respond to? Which cars?
You know, I liked there was I want to say like there was like a Mercedes 300D, I think, which was like the diesel.
Right.
But I loved the smell of the old leather and just that, you know, like that was really fun. But then there were some really gorgeous classic cars.
And what kind of crap are the valets into in a place like that? Are you guys going through like glove boxes?
No,
Not
because,
you probably.
No, because it was you know. There was the same members coming all the time,
right.
So it's like we were very accountable for everything, and anything that went wrong, of course, we'd be the first people to get blamed,
right?
And so we were very respectful.
So when you start making money, what show is that? Is that the MTV show?
This was before that.
This is before that.
Yes,
no, I know that, but
yeah.
afterwards, you get
well,
into
MTV
television.
wasn't. I didn't really. I mean, I think I almost made as much, if not more, parking cars than when I worked at MTV, and I'm not even making a joke.
You know, the same holds true today.
Yeah,
with MTV,
it was just like it was like a regular job salary, right. But I had to pay commission to agents.
And so, are you in New York at that point? Or
LA.
Yeah, so what are you driving then?
So I traded in the Pulsar for a Nissan Sentra. Mm-hmm. The Nissan Sentra got totaled. It was not my fault. So then I got a newer Nissan Sentra. This was like 91, 92.
Let's go to not your fault there. What do you mean? How does a car get totaled and it's not your fault?
Okay, I was coming down Mulholland.
So you were in the car.
No, I'm
you
sorry.
made it sound like somebody else was driving the car.
No, I was coming down, not Mulholland, Sepulveda, right near the Getty Center.
Right.
And I was going south down Sepulveda, and I had just passed the 40. I just was coming under the 405, and the on-ramp was...
At Sunset?
No, it was before Sunset. It was, like up near the Getty Center, the Skirball Center. And so there's an on-ramp and on my side of the road, and a woman from going the other side turned in front of me to get on the on-ramp. Ugh. And just like this was before texting, so I think I didn't know what the fuck she was looking at. And I just full on plowed into her. Wow. We were both okay, but it was 100% her fault.
Yeah. And so what happens? You get out?
The car, you get out.
You're on the 405.
Yeah, already
you're in danger again just
already,
because you're there. Cougar might grab you.
It's the adrenaline rush.
Right?
Of like, am I dead? Is that person dead? What happened? What happened? It's just like.
Is there an airbag in that car? There's no airbag.
No, there was no airbag at that time.
So it's just all belts and steering wheel.
Just all belts, and I just heard the crunch of and that was it. So
do you carry that accident with you now when you drive?
What do you mean? You mean like
just the idea? I've never been in a bad accident, and so I kind of drive around kind of footloose and fancy free, not really worrying about it. But
I've been in a couple, and I think, and the other time previously, I was my first year of college, and I was a passenger,
right?
And we were in a really bad car accident, and on the 5, and I think. So it does affect me. I'm an avid seatbelt wearer.
Right.
And even when I'm with my wife or anyone else, I'm always like, put your seatbelt on. I'm not moving this car. The beeping is because you haven't put your seatbelt on. Why is it so
hard for the wife to put the seatbelt on?
Because she's doing other things.
That happens to me too, right? They have like an 8-minute delay. I'll get to it. And there's beeping going on.
She's settling. There's stuff going on. She's putting stuff in her purse.
And they don't seem to understand. We're just worried. We're trying to take care of. We're just worried.
We are worried. We're annoying because we're worried.
Right.
But you know what? If something bad happened, then you're welcome for us being a pain in the ass about it. So
where do you go? What's the next car after that?
It was a newer version of the Sentra because it was totaled. So the insurance paid for a newer version of the Sentra.
What color was this Sentra?
It was that.
Don't tell me it was white.
No,
please.
It was not white. I don't like white cars.
Okay, thank you.
They're
easy to clean white. And it's a Porsche racing color. I have nothing against white, but not on Sentras.
It was a white. It was like that light goldish color, like that light, like a metallic.
Wow, a nice real old lady color.
Real old lady color.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, I hooked up with so many elderly ladies. They loved it.
All right.
I drive them to the store.
But then, let's get into the cool stuff. Like, where's the point? You got
I'll
a little
tell you
money.
exactly where it was. Okay,
go ahead. I want to hear that.
Okay, so The next car I had was a Jeep Grand Cherokee, which was very much a step up for me from the Sentra.
I had one of those too.
Because it was like, it had all the nice stuff in it. Then from that, my big leap to
Did your Cherokee catch fire by any chance?
Never caught fire.
My regular Cherokee caught fire.
It did, really?
Yeah.
While you were in it?
No. After driving it, it just burned to the ground. But as I understand it, that year, I forget what year it was kind of common. It's one of 2 or 3 cars I've had burned to the ground.
And what was it? Was it
It's electrical.
Just an electrical problem?
Yeah, some sort of electrical thing with a
Oops,
battery.
sorry, guys. Oh, I could have been in that. Well, you weren't. Shut up. But then after that, I made a very foolish purchase because in 1998, I was working in radio and I was on a sitcom, and so I thought, I'm going to have a lot of money for a while.
Right.
So I bought my first luxury car, which was a 1998 Mercedes. It was the CLK 320, which I loved because it was a little coupe, and it just had this really gorgeous like spaceship line to it. And I couldn't believe that I was driving a Mercedes. Like, it was such a mind fuck for me. And then, of course, what happened is our show did not get picked up for the back nine, and I left the radio job, and I had
That's good. Well, that proves you're a car guy.
Yeah.
The second you think, just give it to me for a month, and then I'll sell it. I don't care.
I was able to hold on to it.
It's funny. It reminds me of me when I was in New York. I was writing for Letterman, and I loved cars, but I didn't quite know much about them. And I, grew up in a blue-collar town, so it was Mustangs and Camaros and things of that nature. And I get to New York, I have a little extra money, and I'm single, and I go to this exotic car place, and there's this Maserati. Here's a name I've heard, Maserati, and look on the dash, a Cartier clock. Right? This is a luxury sports car.
And they haven't.
It's a Maserati biturbo.
The Maseratis have not really advanced.
This
that
was
far
one of
beyond that.
Historically, one of the worst cars ever made.
I looked at them recently.
No, you mean an '85?
No. I mean, I looked at Maseratis a couple of years ago.
There are people laughing right now at the mere mention of the Maserati biturbo, the 1985 with a Cartier clock.
Right.
It did, and no lie, it broke down every week. I would write a check at the end of the week to the mechanic for $2,500. I'd go for one drive on a Saturday and then bring it right back to him Monday.
You know what? That clock could tell you exactly when the car broke down. Yeah,
But you know what I mean? You just get attracted to things that aren't really you. Like, you're talking about that Mercedes. And that's not the type of guy you are, but you're on this car journey where you're going to find that out. Like, why the hell? Look at me. Why would I like a Cartier clock on a dash? You know what I mean? I'm making all sorts of. And it was actually David Letterman who pointed it out. He goes, "You're in the wrong stuff." He said, "You got to, you're a Porsche 911 guy." He goes, let me let you drive one of my cars, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. And I had all these preconceived notions of what kind of guy drives that car. Like I can tell you kind of have.
Well, we had this conversation before. You go, "You should drive the Porsche," and I go, "I don't know. It feels
you're that guy." And what Dave said to me was, he goes, "You're going to like it." He goes, "Forget about movies and the bad guy, the country club, bad dude who's disrespectful on a date and gets punched in the face." He goes, "You're going to love that this car has no power steering, no power brakes. It might not even have a radio. It's just a little focused driving experience. And it's you. Trust me, it's you." And when I drove it, I fell in love.
All right. I mean, I will give it a shot, but I have had one of the cars. I mean, as we're going through the chronology of these, a few cars later, I got a 335i BMW, and I liked it. I really liked it, but it was so much. I could feel everything on the road. I mean, it was basically like unprotected sex for driving. It was like raw dogging for driving. You could feel every bump, every nook in the road, and I didn't love that.
All right, we'll be back with more Chris Hardwick in a minute.
Adam Carolla's motivational podcast, Take a Knee, is a part of Podcast One Premium. But you can hear a very special episode with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar now for free at podcastone.com.
How much do you think that discipline has affected your life and helped you in further endeavors after
It's helped me a lot because, when you get to a point when you can look back, all the times that I failed had to do with my own laziness and arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And when you get humble and understand that you got to work for it and earn it, you get things done.
To subscribe and get a new episode of Take a Knee each week, go to podcastone.com/premium.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, we're back with Chris Hardwick. We're talking about his chronology of cars. This is something new. You said it's a very nice phrase. I like that. We're going to keep exploring his car thing because I think he's about 60% to where he needs to be. He's on this journey that we've all been on, and I think I know where it ends, but let's hear it from him. So we were at the BMW phase. Is that where we were at?
No, I jumped
the
ahead.
Mercedes.
I jumped ahead several cars. So I had a CLK 320.
Right.
Then
how long did you keep that car? 2
I had
years?
that car for maybe 4 years.
Well, that's all right.
Had it for 4 years. I traded it in for. I wanted a sedan. I wanted the feeling of like a big tank car. So I got a black, and I'll never get another black car, but I got a black E500.
Okay.
Which was nice.
Those are cool.
It was a step up in engine size. It was very luxurious inside.
Are you doing a lot of stand-up at that point? Because it's a good car to go to the clubs and do stand-up in, the Mercedes.
Yeah,
very relaxing.
It was good. It was really nice. I mean, it was like a nice luxury car, and I always enjoyed. I think Mercedes does a really good job of their onboard technology is always really nice.
But why would you never get a black one again? Too dirty?
Too dirty. Yeah,
Right,
it just shows up everything.
Yes.
You know, so I tend to like more neutral colors. So you saw when you pulled in, one of my cars is like a darker gray, and one of them is like a matte silver.
Right.
Because it just doesn't show anything up. But so the E500 that led to the 335, and then the 335 led to a car that I adored, which was the Audi S5. Before they changed the engine. So it was like a really great. I think it was a 2010, maybe. I think it was 2010, and it was this. It was the color was called like meteor gray, I think.
Yeah.
So it was a little greenish.
Uh-huh.
Gorgeous car. Loved it.
Right.
And the technology inside was great. It was sort of like Apple's version of a car.
It feels like a guy's car too.
Yeah.
Didn't you like that more than the Mercedes?
I liked it more than the Mercedes,
Right.
the S5.
Just feels a little more like you.
Yeah, and
Right.
it had a gorgeous design to it, and it was understated but elegant and really beautiful, and it drove beautifully. And then from that, I jumped to Jaguar.
Yeah, that's a funny jump. That's about maybe where I come into at midnight, right? And we were talking about this.
I had two Jaguars.
You did it.
back to
You
back.
had two. All right. What are they? Because I think I came in for the F-Type.
You came in for the F-Type. Before that, it was it the XK?
The XK something or other, but it's sedan.
No, it was no, not the sedan Jaguar. It was like the two-door,
Okay.
like rocket ship.
And what attracted you to Jaguar as a brand?
Because I just thought, oh, this will be a fun, and I love the body design of
Right.
it. I love things that are like spaceshipy, rocket shippy.
Right.
And this was.
I should introduce you to Will I Am. He will sci-fi your ride. Take those two cars in the driveway and turn them into a spaceship.
I wouldn't mind that at all, actually. That sounds quite delightful. Yeah, it was the XK. Fuck. Now I feel stupid that I can't remember what it was.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
But then I went to the F-Type. And
But
the
then you
F-Type
go to the
is
F-Type.
one of my favorite cars I've
right.
ever owned.
Now that car I love.
The F-Type.
You know,
I had the F-Type R.
They came. We did a Jaguar episode on Car Matchmaker, and I hadn't driven any of their stuff, and I fell in love with that F-Type. But why did you? So you got it. It's a two-seater.
It's a two-seater.
You're not married at that point.
No.
What color did you get?
It was this really incredible, like dark blue color.
Metallic.
This metallic blue, and it had like a bone interior with like
Fantastic.
everything about it was gorgeous.
And the exhaust note on that car.
Yeah.
Spectacular, right?
Yeah, and then of course you could push this douchey button to make it louder. You could push a button.
That's not a douchey button. No, that's the button you turn off when you're coming home through your neighborhood at
That's
night,
right.
So you don't make a lot of noise.
You know,
but I've talked about this before. I believe that sound cars, because that's a sound car, are much better than speed cars here in LA. Like, you can have fun in that Jaguar F-Type doing the speed limit at 35 miles an hour and making noise, as opposed to jamming it through somebody's neighborhood and speeding.
Yeah, but I feel like I've never had a car that was so responsive.
Right.
Like, you stepped on that Jaguar, and if you stepped on the F-Type too hard, you'd fishtail.
Yes, that's right.
Because it was was it supercharged? There was something about it that was so ready to go. There was zero lag time from when you push down on the accelerator to the car taking off. It was quick.
Boy, I want to show him the new GT3 RS. I mean, GT2 RS, the one they just revealed down at. You would know this. You're a gaming
E3
guy at E3. They unveiled the new Porsche GT2 RS.
Oh, I saw that. It did look like a race car.
Oh, it is a race
Yeah,
car.
I saw
It doesn't
it.
just look like a race
car.
car.
I saw it there. Yeah, it was.
And
it was
that thing,
stunning.
that's a widowmaker. That does what you were just saying in spades.
Where
Like
your eyeballs just embed on the back of your skull.
You know what does that is ludicrous mode in a Tesla. When you put ludicrous mode on and you do that crazy acceleration, I think it's 3.1 seconds, 0 to 60.
Yeah.
The first time I did it, my eyeballs did vibrate. They did move and vibrate, and it felt like they were going into the back of my head. And it makes me wonder, like, what's, and I think, Jason Torchinsky, who's a writer for Jalopnik, wrote about the fastest 0 to 60 time that could actually kill you. Like, when is enough going to be enough?
When you can actually hear the boom, like when you can hear the sound barrier being broken and you see the shock wave.
That would be cool. So wait, so you don't still have the F-Type?
No, I got rid of the F-Type.
And now?
I got a Ferrari California T.
California T.
Which I never thought I would be a Ferrari owner, but I test drove it and I really liked it.
Right? It's a great car.
But then, when I bought it, they said to me, well, this isn't like an everyday driving car. And I go, it's a car, whatever.
What do you mean?
Well,
Why not?
I know exactly what they mean now because I bought a sedan because of it. Because it's, the trunk is about the size of a purse, and it doesn't, it's a fun car to drive, but for day-to-day use, it's not the most comfortable car to drive. Sometimes you just want to be comfortable going to work or be able to take other people in your car. And so I got an S63, which was just like the full luxury pampered package.
I was talking about this on the way here because I was in the Range Rover Sport that I need to be relaxed in traffic.
Yeah.
Especially like a guy like you, I remember I used to daily drive a GT3, a 996 GT3 at 2004. And I remember coming home from the studio late at night and you know what it's like, obviously. You're really tired. You've got phone calls to return. You're trying to talk to people. You're trying to read emails. And I almost died in an intersection because I was shifting gears. I was tired. It was such a handful. And I know you have an automatic transmission in that thing, but still, you're exactly right. You need your performance car, and you need especially. You need a car to chill out in that's almost going to take you home, right?
Well,
you must love the idea of the self-driving car.
It terrifies me slightly because I just feel like, you know why? Because I understand technology.
Right.
And I understand that we are in a period of technology where people can release things that aren't finished.
Right.
Because they are essentially, beta tested by mass consumption.
Right.
And that's where they find out about all the bugs. But
Yes.
this is a case where finding out about all the bugs are running over people and running into things.
Yeah,
and,
maybe.
and so
But
that
I
actually
always
makes me
like to
nervous.
say that self-driving cars aren't going to smoke meth. Right?
That's true.
Self-driving cars aren't going to, there's no road rage, there's no racing.
You also can't reason with it. You also cannot reason with the self-driving
But don't
car.
you, I would guess that we're going to have like cruise control. It's just a button. Just like, hey, just take me the next 9 blocks.
No, I agree. A friend of mine has has the Tesla that drives itself.
Right, right.
And he's like, hey, when I'm driving home on the freeway, I'm answering emails, the car's driving, everything's fine, but it's still.
Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to do that.
Better
Not
mention
yet.
that to him.
I mean, it's the promise of the self-driving car.
But I have to say the other thing that I really like, and this probably makes me, this will probably anger like a car purist, is that I like really good, simple interface, smart technology within a car.
Yeah, no, it's the number one thing people want in a new car right now.
And the exotic cars, because the production numbers are so much lower, they don't turn over the technology inside as often because it's just not cost effective, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So the technology and the not that I'm complaining like a piece of shit privileged asshole, but the technology inside the Ferrari is not great. Like the interface is bad. It's not that responsive. It looks like an old Windows interface. Like it's just not a great.
Look, it's a common problem. You're not,
But you buy, you get one because you like the car.
No, but connectivity is obviously very important to a new car purchase. And when you're paying that kind of money for a car like that, you want it to work. My business partner who helps me run my production company has a McLaren that I can't get him on Bluetooth. When I call him, it's hello.
Yeah.
Spike, it's John. Hello, and
Yeah.
it echoes. I'm like, "Are you in the McLaren?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll call you back," because he doesn't want to put the phone to his ear.
Yeah, and I just feel like if you're going to, and
If you're going to pay a lot of money for a car, that
it should do
be
the same
best.
thing that a Honda Fit does.
Yes.
At least, you know? And so that's why, and I think Mercedes is really great about keeping the technology updated and keeping the interface really clean and smooth, and everything integrates really well, and there's no connectivity issues. And so, because obviously in I feel like in New York, it's maybe a little bit different of an experience, but in LA, a car is an extension of our home because we spend so much time in it. And so that's why I don't feel bad, maybe being a little extravagant with the car experience, because we just spend so much time in our cars here that it feels nice to be
You
able
want to be
have-
comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but you also work hard. There's all this comedian guilt over working hard, and
Because we were always outcasts growing up. That's why comedians become comedians. And so you look at people with car, like if I looked at a guy that has the cars I have now, but back then I'd be like, I don't care what that guy does. He's a fucking piece of shit. And so, I feel that. I feel like my older...
That's an old idea. And I'm going to tell you why. It's an old idea. Back when I was working on Seinfeld, Jerry used to talk about cars just like this. He would almost be apologetic about it. He would say, I know it's stupid. I know it's dumb, but I like these cars. Leave me alone. Right?
Yeah.
And then the internet happened. Right? And suddenly we realized there are all of these people around the world. There's $1 billion industry, $100 billion industry.
Sure.
$1 trillion industry, and they're a bunch of idiots like us who like this stuff. And don't you feel like, you're a married guy, I'm a married, don't you feel like this is a perfect little distraction for you? Like when you have a minute to think about cars and going for a drive compared to what you could be doing?
That's very true, but I also appreciate the artistry and the time, and because when a car sort of fits around your body like a cocoon or like a glove, you understand how much thought went into that it wasn't a mass-produced thing that was just like a cookie cutter. Let's not just make it as functional as possible. That someone really thought about the user experience. And so I get really, like when I see something that's designed so beautifully and the seats kind of hug your body in a certain way, it's like, well, they really thought about this and making the experience as pleasing as possible, which again is very important when you live in Los Angeles and spend so much time in traffic.
Have you ever driven an old 911?
No.
Oh, boy.
No, actually, I mean, at Bel Air Country Club, yeah, I parked a million of them, but not...
Probably not 68 to 73.
You
would remember. I'm going to let you... I'm going to get you in a couple of cars, because you're a 911 guy.
Okay,
I can
you
see
say
it.
you say
it's
that.
just there. The cars you mentioned, the cars you're buying now, it's exactly the path that I
Why,
was
though?
on.
What is it?
Huh?
What is it about?
You're searching. You're in a search. What is it about it? You just know. You're going to love everything about it. The simplicity of it.
I honestly feel like Harry Potter getting his wand. The wand chooses the wizard, Harry. Here's your 911 wand. That's a douchey wand. No, Harry, hold it.
Did you really? Do you look at those cars and go, "Those are douchey"? I might look at some Ferraris and some people in Ferraris and go, "That is pretty douchey."
You remember Caddyshack?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a scene in Caddyshack where Spalding smells his grandson, I guess, or nephew or whatever.
Yes.
He's drinking all the drinks in the bar, and then he drinks the one with the cigarette, and he goes, bleh, and he goes out and he pukes in the sunroof of the Porsche, and then later on, this guy comes out and he gets in with his date.
Right, the country club jerk.
Yes, the country club jerk.
Yes.
And then, of course, she smushes down and
But there have been so many films since then that you need to watch.
But it is
That's what I'm talking about, the negative portrayal
No, I just
of
watched
Porsche.
that movie and I never watched another one. I'm sorry. I'm not open.
You worked at a golf course, for heaven's sakes.
I did, but I think that's maybe where a lot of my associations with that specific type of...
I know. Throw those away. I'm passing along now the advice that David Letterman gave to me. Throw that shit away.
Okay.
These are preconceived notions. It's almost car bigotry that you're thinking here.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
There is an asshole in every car.
That's true.
Including the Fit.
That's right.
Including the Prius.
Well,
I've seen people...
I know that.
Right.
because that comes with a certain sense of entitlement.
Yes,
It's like,
it does.
I'm helping the environment. What about the carbon footprint that was created that machine that you're in?
I've seen someone smoke in a Prius. I'm here to save the environment, but fuck the people in it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Just because you have a Prius doesn't give you permission to kind of go, well, yeah, I'll litter because I'm helping over here with this electric car.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Have you ever been cut off by a Prius and flipped off by a guy in a Prius? I have.
And how do you respond?
Well, you follow him home. And then you call, my co-host isn't here today, the real Zuckerman, but you call the real Zuckerman and you take legal action.
Or you try to get him to just drive up a hill and then, they just sort of.
They are doomed to a life of sadness in that car. So that's what you do. You go home and you think about, at least I have this car to drive.
I do like the Teslas, but I just feel like I'm not ready to. I mean, like the add-on packages for the better engine, for faster charging. I just feel like we're like an efficiency jump away, and charging efficiency jump away from having that be a real car for me.
Well, Porsche's got a big electric car coming out 2018.
Oh,
that
really?
I heard yesterday. You can quick charge it in 15 minutes.
That's what's going to change everything.
Yeah, and Volkswagen, Audi, they all have them. Jaguar has an electric car coming out.
Nice.
Do you have enough? Do you have the right level of electricity in this old house?
I think so.
Is everything upgraded so there'll be no fires here when you're charging up? Let me ask you a question I was dying to ask you.
Please.
What is your favorite comic book or superhero car?
Oh,
like when you think about.
Well, I mean, the Green Hornet had a pretty cool car.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that kind of 60s. There was something really nice about, when cars came out of the 40s had a really nice look to them because everything was really curvy. In the 50s, everything felt really pointy. But the 60s, I felt like had a nice combination of both of those things, where there was just a nice shape to those cars. Like those old Jaguars or the old, I know the 3.0 was a 70s car, but just something about that shape of a car was really, really pleasing to me, and I feel like that's a car that I always want. I mean, I loved like in Harold and Maude when he turns that Jaguar into a hearse.
That's a great movie, isn't it?
Great movie. It's such a great movie.
Why is that such a great movie? Have you ever gone back and watched it now?
Yeah, we just watched it a couple
nights
nights ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing because I feel like there are themes in that movie that are actually very applicable to things that are going on today about depression and getting attention and feeling out of place, and it's very much. I think it's still
and your love of Jaguars.
My love of I do love the Jag. I do love Jaguars. Some of them, but because some of the Jaguars look like old people golf cars. But then there's like the F-Type or I think it was XKE. I think that was mine.
Right.
No. Fuck. It's gonna drive me nuts.
Well, when you get in an old Jaguar, I don't know if you've ever driven one of those old Jaguars. There's a lot of hood in front of you.
Yeah.
Just a lot.
A ton.
Yeah, a ton. And you might not like that.
No.
I don't like cars with a lot of hood in front of me.
No, and I remember driving just a few years ago. And maybe this will make you giggle. I drove a Fisker.
Oh yeah.
Because I just wanted to see what it was like, and
What
that
did you
car
think?
felt like there was another car in front of you. It was a very wide car, and it felt like a very long car.
Now, what's
too.
the deal? Didn't they go out of business and now they're back in business?
I don't know.
I should know this, but I swear I just saw
They were
them
in Santa Monica. There was like a showroom in Santa Monica.
Yeah, they were there, and then there was a bankruptcy sign up, or we're going out of business, or whatever it is. I'm not quite sure what happened to them, but I think just recently they came out with a better version of the car. In fact, I'm pretty sure I just saw their concept car on Twitter, and it looked pretty cool. Looked pretty interesting.
But I do think it is I think the risky part of any kind of a new car company is the support there,
right?
If shit goes sideways, or
here's what I think about what happens when we have an earthquake and there's no electricity. Then what do you do? I don't think anyone has considered that we can't charge our cars. Seriously, what are we doing? Honda generators?
To be fair, the crust of the earth will be cracked in such a way that we won't be able to get anywhere anyway.
All right. Well, Chris, thank you
matter.
for coming on Spike's Car Radio. I want you, next time you're on the show, you're committing to next time already, I want you to come out and I want you to drive to Malibu with me and have coffee on the porch and drive a nice old 911. And you don't have to pretend to like it. I just want you to experience it.
I will, but what's the new? I'm looking up this Jaguar. It's going to drive me crazy. What's the new? Is it a new 911 that I should be looking at, or do you just like the old ones?
Jeez, I like I love all things Porsche. Are you seriously thinking about a new 911?
No, I don't know. I just
A
feel
new
like...
911 GTS, which I just drove last week, would be perfect for you. You would love
think
it.
so?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. It's not such a race car like a GT3 that you couldn't have a good time. And I think you'd have a better time driving it than the Ferrari California.
That's the Jaguar I had with the XKR.
Oh yeah, there it is.
So it doesn't look like a
That's nice. Doesn't seem like you.
Oh really?
It seems like a car your aunt would drive.
An aunt would not drive an XKR. That's
Your
like a super...
aunt drives that car. That's her.
Oh my
That's
God.
her car.
Oh my God, there she is in the picture that I ran.
You're a
into Google.
911 guy. Trust me. And we're going to drive 911s the next time we have Chris on. Chris, we can see you on at midnight. When is NBC's Wall coming back?
June 22nd.
June 22nd. And what is this science show that I heard about?
We've been calling it the Awesome Show. We're actually just in development now. Hopefully, we'll shoot it in the fall, in the winter, and then it'll be out early next year.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations,
Thank
man,
you
on
so
all
much.
your success. And please, let's start spending this money on cars.
I just want to thank you for helping me feel like a little less of a douchebag than I already
You're
feel.
not a douchebag. You're a nice guy. It's clear to me. Right?
right.
People love you.
I guess.
The cars, it's the guy, it's not the car. It's
Okay.
the guy, it's not the car.
I'm struggling.
Next week, join me for a chat with Jeremy Piven from the Porsche at Bill's. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Ever tried reading while jogging, cooking, or even juggling flaming torches? Yeah, it doesn't end well. But with audiobooks.com, you can conquer books without the circus act. Dive into over 450,000 titles, including more than 10,000 free ones. Get hooked on a bestseller, find your next obsession, or finally read that classic you've been avoiding since high school. And here's the inside scoop. Sign up today for a free 30-day trial and snag your first 3 audiobooks on the house. Sign up for your free trial at audiobooks.com/podcastfree today. That's audiobooks.com/podcastfree.